Morning folks, Jeff from San Diego Adventure Crew. Another video this morning, Jeep related. We're going to talk about hanging your hardtop from your garage ceiling and one of the best ways of going about it. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there regarding this, but I think I'm going to give you some pointers and things to see this morning you may not have seen before, and maybe a best solution for you. So stick around, here we come. So you've probably all seen solutions with ratchet straps, eye-bolted to the ceiling of your garage. And my solution's not going to be that much different, but here goes a little bit of a twist. For starters, I'm going to use the same similar ratchet strap, cam buckle style that you've seen in stores before, that have a simple buckle that you press the button to release, and you can extend the distance quickly that way. But I'm also going to use typical ratchet straps. And finally, I'm going to use a shelf, because once you have that hardtop hanging from the ceiling, you've got a lot of dead space underneath it, and I'm going to show you a great tip for that. So stick around, stay tuned. Here comes YouTube's best solution for hardtop storage of a Jeep Wrangler in your garage, ceiling mounted, using a couple of ratchet straps and making a shelf for storage. For starters, I'm not going to show you how to release the clamps, remove your freedom panels, take those off, or disconnect the bolts on your top to get those ready, because there's a dozen YouTube videos explaining how to do that. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to back the Jeep in the garage and get ready to take the top off. 3, 2, 1. Remove the freedom panels, then come up top and unbolt the 2 front bolts on the top, and then we'll come in the back and we will unbolt the 3 bolts in the rear on each side that hold it down. So as soon as we have that done, we'll continue on. Don't forget, underneath the tailgate there's a place to put the bolts from your top. And lastly, inside the topper, don't forget to disconnect your windshield washer fluid and the wiper motor. Don't try to lift the top without doing that. And there's a convenient little holder to tuck them away once you've disconnected them, to keep them from rattling. Clip, clip, good to go. Next step is to position your Jeep back far enough so that the straps are hanging in close position to the rear portion of the topper. The exact location isn't all that critical, because once you start lifting it up off the Jeep, it's going to kind of position itself, and you need to lift it high enough so that it will clear as you pull the Jeep forward and get it out of the garage. The tire clears the back window, so you're going to have to lift it up at least a foot or so to clear the tail light when you start pulling the Jeep forward. So with that in mind, the quickest way is to use these little cam straps here underneath the edges of the topper and lift it up quickly. But the safest way is to use ratchet straps. Only problem with ratchet straps is they're not going to lift. Don't forget, when you put the webbing from the ratchet straps through the Jeep, door open, webbing has to go up over the roll bar, and bring it down. You don't want to try to lift the roll bar or the doors, so make sure you go over the roll bar before you start to lift it. In the rear, you can just lift up on the topper a little bit, put the webbing underneath it on both sides. It comes out the other side and it's ready to go up to the ceiling and ratchet. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to ratchet it up just to break the seal, get it off the Jeep, because ratchets are easy. Okay, a couple words about ratchets and eye bolts before we continue on here. One thing about eye bolts, and you can probably see from my experimentation here on my ceiling, is I tried to find the studs just using nails, holes, little drill bits, whatever. Make sure when you put those eye bolts into a 2x4, you're putting it directly into the center of the 2x4. You don't want that eye bolt splitting a 2x4 and have a risk there. And secondly, pre-drill the hole into the 2x4 before you put in the eye bolt. The drill bit should be basically the center diameter of the eye bolt minus the width of the threads. Now we've got the ratchets ready to go. They are down underneath the topper and we are ready to ratchet them. You should experiment with these things before you get started so you know how they work, know how the ratchet release is going to work, and hopefully I can do this one-handed. Then when we come over to this one, you can see the angle on my topper is a little bit forward. So I'm going to do that one first, and it'll basically lift the front of the topper up a little bit first, and then we'll do the back. So here we go with that. 3, 2, 1. We'll do a little bit on the front. Ratchet, ratchet, ratchet. A little bit on the back. Ratchet, ratchet, ratchet. Just where it's starting to take up a little bit of tension. There we go. Starting to take up tension. The top is starting to lift off. Just like that. Getting a little bit of separation. That's all we really want at this point. Check to make sure everything's coming off nice and clean. Strap is above the roll bar, so we're not trying to lift the roll bar with strap. Just lifting the topper. Get up a few ratchet strap clicks, and then we're going to check to make sure everything is disconnecting clearly. So here goes the rear a little bit. Yep, there you go. I already gave a little bit. There are little alignment pins on the bottom of the topper here, so that as you set it down, it knows that it's clearing and it goes in the right spot. And as you can see, as we're ratcheting, it's coming up just a little click at a time. And we've got a ways to go before this topper will clear the tire and we can pull the Jeep out. So I'm going to ratchet a little bit and catch up with you in just a second. Click, click, click. So now we are a little ways off the Jeep, still coming up, but we're running into the main issue with using ratchet straps. And that is, once you start lifting a whole bunch of distance and the webbing starts to spool up here on the middle spindle of the ratchet, you kind of run out of how much farther can I ratchet this thing before I run out of space here. So that's where we're going to work in the secret sauce and use the cam straps. And we're going to use these cam straps for lifting the topper a whole bunch at one time without using the ratchet straps, and we'll just use the ratchet straps for safety. So I've got these solid red straps that I'm going to connect here on the topper and here underneath the back of the topper to use as lifting points temporarily before we put the wooden shelf in place. That's what's coming next. 3, 2, 1. The good part about using these cam lock type of straps rather than the ratchet straps is you can lift the topper and pull up on the ratchet strap at the same time and lift quite a bit very quickly. Now I've got most of the weight of the topper resting on these red cam lock straps, and the ratchet straps are just here for safety, and I will be able to take the strap up over the rear tire with relative ease and get the Jeep out of the way now. So we're going to do that next. 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more step here. We've got it up quite a ways off the top of the Jeep. Good 8-10 inches of space. The straps up on top, both the red and the black ratchet strap, are taking a lot of weight off of it. In the rear, it's currently being held just by the red cam strap. The black ratchet strap is temporarily back out behind the tire so that I can pull the Jeep out of here, and that's what we're going to do next. And just like that, it's hanging from the ceiling, suspended mainly by the red cam buckle straps, safety with the ratchet straps. This ratchet strap is going to go back in place and be another safety. Then we're going to lift a little bit higher with the ratchet straps, and we're going to put a shelf under here. Because you know, once you tuck your Jeep underneath there, look at all that free storage space that you have. So we're going to take advantage of that. Coming up next. So now I've got it lifted primarily by the red ratchet straps. Take a couple of notches up. I'm sorry, the black ratchet straps are holding it. These red cam lock straps are loose now. And I'm going to go ahead and lower them down a little bit because they are now going to pick up my shelf system. And the shelf is going to lift this up from the bottom and hold it there rather than have all the weight rest on these permanently. A lot of people do that. It's not a bad thing, but it's not the way that this thing was designed to be supported. It's designed to be supported and rest from the bottom of the topper itself. So, ratcheting the black ratchet straps just a couple more lifts loosens up the ability to take the red cam straps, sorry about the noise, and have those free. And the red straps are what I'm going to hang the shelf system on. Here comes the shelf system. So I'm going to start ratcheting these using the cam straps to lift this shelf up into place and start taking the weight out. A little bit on each side. And it goes pretty quickly because these cam straps are wonderful. Whole bunch all at once. So here's the orientation. Strap coming down through the turnbuckle. Eye bolt. This is the part of the system that is going to hold underneath. You can see these little positioning pins that go down inside of your Jeep. You want to make sure you're not having it rest directly on that. So you're going to rest it. I'm going to shove this shelf back a little bit. There we go. And get this support back behind that. And in the back, this little rubber support is also in front of that. So now I'm going to, I've got a lot of space here. All the weight's going to be taken up with this little cushion, right as though this was resting on top of the Jeep. So here we go, lifting while it's in position. And now the topper is resting primarily on this shelf with these straps, and this ratchet strap is just safety. So now we have the shelf in place on both sides. I'm going to make sure that lift a little, shove it back a little. There we go. Just like that. It's in place. The pin from the topper is not being rested on. The topper is resting on a little rubber cushion. A little further off the ground now, and you can see my ratchet strap is dangling quite a bit because I've lifted it with the red cam buckles quite a bit. It is now resting securely on the shelf system with almost all of the weight resting right here where the topper normally rests on these little cushioned rails. So I'm just going to continue to lift it up a little bit at a time on each corner, take it all the way to the ceiling where my roof rack is going to hit the ceiling. Once that's done, I'm going to come back and tighten up the black ratchet straps. I have now taken the topper as far up to the top of the ceiling, garage roof as I can, using the red cam straps. And I'm taking it a step further by not trusting them to hold by themselves without a couple of little safety knots, just so that this doesn't fall and destroy your $2,000 topper on top of your $60,000 rig in the middle of the night. So put a safety knot in there, folks. And then on top of that, we're going to use the ratchet straps, which are underneath the Jeep topper, just going across the bottom, just as this extra safety precaution. We're going to put those in place and ratchet those down a little bit, just as an extra safety precaution. So we'll do that a couple of times. The majority of the weight is held by these red straps, holding up the 2x4 frame, keeping it in place. The black ratchet straps are just for safety. Everything's still tied in with the buckles. And here's another tip, just so the buckle doesn't fall off in the middle of what you're doing and frustrate you, put a little bit extra electrical tape there just to keep it in place so it never falls off the hook. Just for safety. And I've tied little pieces of tape around the tails to keep them nice and tidy and neat. So I'm going to, you can barely see a little bit of flex in that. Probably one more notch or two. 1, 2, A little bit of weight on there, almost all the weight on here, holding on the shelf. And now that it's all in place, has a great little place to store things like your Freedom panel tops or anything else you want to put up underneath there. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. Just like that, folks, final product. Topper up to the ceiling, suspended by 2x4s. 2x4s have shelf going across the side, and now that gives you a nice little shelf to put your Freedom panels or any other fairly lightweight types of equipment. I wouldn't put a lot of weight up there. The topper itself is a couple hundred pounds. Freedom panels is another 50 or so, so take it easy. But you can also see it. I put don't hit your head on the 2x4 yellow safety tape there, just so that I'm not smacking things walking around the garage. But now the Jeep will tuck in underneath there with a lot of extra storage space. So I hope that you like this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your friends, especially those in the Jeep community. If you're looking for a way, in my opinion, the best way to store your topper, your Jeep hardtop, in your garage, and then also utilize all that free space underneath it. One final close-up just of the construction so you can see how I put things together in case you want to do something similar. Straps from the ceiling down to eye bolts, 2x4 the length of the back of the topper with a little bit of spare on each end. You can measure that out. From there, 2x2s all the way across the other side just to keep it a rigid structure. You can measure that out. And then on top of that, a thin sheet of plywood. But most importantly, on top of these 2x2 rails is this little strip here with a little cushion on top of it supporting the weight of the topper. That's what the topper is resting on here, rather than being supported by hooks here on the edge, by other weird things clipping on other places, because this is the way the topper was designed to be supported right here. No torsion on the fiberglass, don't get any fiberglass cracks. And I think that we have an approval of our shop mascot. What do you say, Maze? Did we do good? You sure? Oh, come on, you look upset. There we go. Good girl. Yes, gonna go for a Jeep ride. So there's the ultimate goal, folks. Jeep in the garage, parked underneath the topper, plenty of room to spare, plenty of gap. You even know how far to pull in your Jeep when you're trying to clear the back door by where your antenna might be positioned coming in up to this thing. You'll figure out what your distance is. Plenty of space up front. If you ever needed to open the back door of the tailgate, the glass, there's still room to do that. Nice and supported up to the top of the ceiling. And this is the ultimate goal, folks. JK, JL, all of you Wranglers out there with hardtops, if you're living in Southern California like I do, you need to have your top off. And if you're fortunate enough to have a garage and a place to store it, I think this is your ultimate solution for storing it in the garage, supporting it this way rather than just with straps, supporting it with a shelf for storage space. How about that, folks? There's your final close-up. And I think with that, we're ready to go for a Jeep ride. What do you say, Maze? Should we go for a ride? Don't forget to check out our other videos and like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Last segment. 3, 2, 1. So, in our next episode, I'm going to take that, where is it? That gray carpeting and that plywood and turn it into a tailgate cover for the back of the Jeep. It's going to cover the rear end, just like some of the aftermarket stuff, but I'm going to do it DIY. A couple of sheets of plywood across the back, hinge, carpeted. It's going to be grand. Tune in next time.